Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this very special 10-year celebration. Celebration also of the birthday of our really beautiful Madiba, Nelson Mandela, and also the birth of something new within the Academy of Heart Leadership, or the Heart Leadership Academy. How are you, Amanda? Thank you for being here today. Same thing. Animation person, you know who you are. I thought as we getting started today that I opened up with a song. It's a song called Shante Ishta. Shante Ishta is the Lakota Sioux word for the single eye of the heart. Shante means heart, Ishta means single. Hello Mary, thank you for being here today. Hello Brian, or Rian, sorry. I don't have my glasses on, so the art looked like a bee from far away. In the middle of your heart, there's a place where you can go to remember who you are and the reason you were born. In the middle of your heart, there's a place where you can go. Remember who you are and the reason you were born. In the middle of your heart, there's a place where you can go to remember who you are and the reason you were born. In the middle of your heart, there's a place where you can go to remember who you are and the reason you were born. Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante. Your heart knows it all. Of your heart, there's a message from your soul to remind you what is right and to turn away from wrong. In the beating of your heart, there's a message from your soul to remind you what is right and to turn away from wrong. Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante. Your heart feels it all. And the light inside your heart is the wisdom of the whole. Like a lantern in the dark, it will guide your way back home. And the light inside your heart is the wisdom of the whole. Like a lantern in the dark, it will guide your way back home. Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante. Your heart sees it all. Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante, Shante Ishta Shante. Your heart sees it all. hey, way, hey, hey, ho. Hey, 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 way, hey, hey, ho. Hey, 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 way, hey, ho. Hey, hey, way, hey, ho. Shanti, 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 Shanti. Your heart knows it all. Your heart feels it all. Your heart sees it all. All right. Few mistakes here and there. It's been a very long time since I've actually played that song. And let me adjust the volume here a little bit, because to play the guitar, I have to change a little bit of a setting here. Okay, here we are. Now we're back to the noise cancellation. Okay, so that you guys can hear me a little bit more clearly. All right. Hello, Geraldine. Thank you for your message. She's saying thank you for the last 10 years. Congratulations. You're very welcome. Rian says, oh my God, your voice is amazing. Thank you. Beautiful start to this wonderful celebration. Thank you, Rian. Geraldine says, greetings, everyone. It's 10 years since I first found the site. Oh my goodness. Yeah, probably around that long. It's been 10 years since I actually found myself. Hello, Veronica. Hello, Maria. Welcome. Glad you could be here with us. And Jennifer, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your beautiful messages. Joseph, thank you so much. Maria says, thank you for allowing me to be a part of something special. Congratulations. You're very, very welcome. All right, Mary. What does Mary say? Congratulations on your 10th anniversary. I'm so glad to have been a part of your life for the past 4.5 years. Happy Sunday, everybody. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Mariette. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Manal. Thank you, all of you guys. Thank you so much for the congratulations. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so the way that I have structured today's celebration is in a way that we can actually all be of service together. And let me tell you exactly what I mean. Well, first, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the past 10 years and about how I got my start as a coach, the events that led to that, and then talk about what I think are probably the pivotal events during this past 10 years that have taken my life, my career, my relationships, everything into a whole new direction. And I'm going to talk about what I think is the biggest challenge that I've had and still do. You're going to see that more often than not, most of my blocks actually are an expression of that same block or that same issue, if you want to call it, or challenge. Okay, so for those of you who are getting started as a coach, as a healer, as some kind of a practitioner, I think you're going to find what I'm going to be sharing very, very, very useful. We're also celebrating the birthday anniversary as well of Madiba, Nelson Mandela. In case you're not aware, I spent 12 years of my life living in South Africa. I still have a home there, actually. And I feel like I found my heart in South Africa and found my root as well. Hey, Johannes, welcome. It's great to have you here, brother. Thank you for being here. Johannes has also been part of the Academy. Glad you could make it. So, so I'll be talking about that, and then, sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay, so back to Mandela's birthday. Yes, today is in South Africa is a Mandela's Day, and as part of this celebration, every South African citizen is invited to do 67 minutes of community service And so our call is going to be just about, I think, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. So I want us to start with a brief opening the hearts sort of process, and then remain in a state of coherence and compassion and love during the rest of our time together. I'm going to be guiding us through a special guided meditation, sending love and healing to South Africa. If you've been watching the news, there is a tremendous amount of social unrest. There has been for the past few weeks in South Africa. Maybe Mariette, I know we have some people here listening from South Africa. If you don't mind, maybe just sharing a little bit on the chat, how are things right now this weekend. But I've been following quite closely. There's been a lot of social unrest, a lot of street protests and looting out in the streets. And so I think that any love, any compassion, anything that we can do to ease the suffering and bring greater sense of harmony and coherence to this incredible land, to the land of Mandela, the father of South Africa, I think would be really greatly appreciated. And so we get to do also our community service by radiating love and staying during this time in a place of love and uniting our hearts together with a common intention. And then finally, at the end of our time together, I'm going to talk about a new program at the Heart Leader Academy that we are going to be releasing or unveiling over the next few days. So those of you who are here or part of the academy will get a chance to, be the first to hear about it in great detail. Mariette is saying things have turned around. Okay, great. The community has come together to clean the streets, all races, lots of love. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really wonderful to read, Mariette, because for me, that my years in South Africa, that is what South Africa represented. It's definitely a place of extremes where you could see great disparity, a great dividing line, between the rich and the poor. But nonetheless, it is a place where people have the capacity to transcend their own limitations, their own cultural, or even religious barriers, to come together for a common goal. That's the essence of what Mandela and his leadership style pretty much represented. So we're going to be talking about him a little bit as well. All right, so let's do a brief heart centering exercise, shall we? And let's begin our time together with an opening prayer to dedicate this time of celebration to opening our hearts, unifying our hearts together, and so that we can create a larger field of expanding our awareness, so that we can also be of service to each other and to the world, and specifically direct this energy of compassion towards South Africa on this very, very, very special day. So I invite you to place a hand over the heart. It doesn't matter which hand, or like a friend of mine, every time I say, it doesn't matter which one, he says, which heart, my right heart or my left heart. All right, so just bring a hand over to the middle of the chest. And then just rub the chest just a little bit. The way you would rub the chest of a child that you want him or her to feel safe and at peace, because that's what happens. When you tell a heart, open, the heart will do exactly the opposite. But when you create the conditions of safety where the heart feels safe to open, the heart will open up. So that's what we want to encourage. And now let's just close our eyes and begin to breathe straight into the heart. Letting go of any unnecessary tension around the neck, the head, and the shoulders. And there, in the stillness, as we breathe into the heart, take a moment to feel the gentle lub-dub. And as you do this, imagine the sun at noon, when it's the brightest, when it's the warmest, and see a small replica of that sun right there in your heart. As you breathe in and out of the heart, imagine that the sun now begins to radiate and begins to expand until you are now at the center of this sun, feeling its warmth, feeling gratitude for the presence that beats your heart. In the name of the Father, the Mother, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, I call to the divine light of love, wisdom, and power from the heart of God to fully manifest in each heart here today, during the live stream and also during the replay. And I ask for the expansion of this flame within our hearts. May they expand and unify into a larger field of unconditional love that during the time that we're together remains open, available, and receptive to divine goodness. May the radiance from our hearts radiate in all directions to our friends, our families, and especially on this day to the people of South Africa, the Rainbow Nation. We wish upon South Africa light, love, compassion, healing. We wish upon the world in which we live in right now and the transition moments in which we are traversing, that divine goodness guides us into the next stage of our evolution. May we together co-create a more loving, compassionate world that works for everybody, where everyone remembers the divinity that lies within them, where anybody remembers and honors the divinity in others. We give thanks. We initiated this time of celebration and being together, declaring this a moment of union, coherence, and waking up. Yeah, waking up to something really great, wonderful that is seeking to express itself through and by means of us here and now. Amen. And so it is, and it is so. Gerd, another amazing person from South Africa. Oh my goodness, Gerd, I'm so glad that you could be here. Gerd is really is the head, the spiritual leader of a really beautiful New Thought community in Johannesburg in South Africa. And it's actually somebody that I had the privilege to meet in my first year in South Africa. So I'm really glad you could be here with us, Gerd. Thank you so much for being here today. All right. So where do I begin? Where do I begin? Well, my intention is in essence, to share a little bit about, quite intimately about the past 10 years and share a little bit about my journey and some of the key events that guided me along the way. During this time, actually the time when I met Gerd, just a year before, when I was still 39 years old back then. Oh my goodness. I was living what up until that time was my dream life. I grew up in a home, let me tell you, in Venezuela with 7 brothers and sisters, where I did not really feel seen, loved, safe, much less safe. I was bullied by my older brother and was constantly doing everything that I could to get my fathers and my mothers to give me their love, their attention. So I felt very powerless in the conditions in which I was growing up. And so I would look up at all these actors on television, and everybody loved them. Everybody admired them. Everybody wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like them. And I remember saying to myself as a child, well, someday I'm going to be like them and I'm going to be on television. And so when my father passed away and I was 19 years old, and I no longer had this authority figure that I felt so much pressure to be something that I was not. I remember that I then just embarked on this crazy adventure of wanting to be an actor and a producer. And so I started out in Venezuela right after university, and did some theater, and then eventually got into television, and then the telenovelas in South Africa, they call them soapies, soapies. And then, that led me to LA several years later, and then to living in Los Angeles and working for Sony Pictures and doing some commercials and taking acting classes and doing the whole Hollywood thing, right? Trying to be famous, trying to be powerful. And I had now reached the point in my career where I had produced my first low budget documentary film project. And I was really living my ideal lifestyle. I was very successful on the outside, but the truth is, what I wasn't really aware of at that moment, and what I would never dare to share with anybody, was that I felt dead inside. I felt dead, completely dead inside, powerless. And here I was thinking, I've done all these things because I felt powerless. I wanted to be powerful. And there I am, being in a position of power, acting, doing telenovelas, and doing all these things, giving interviews, seeing my pictures on magazines. And I still felt unloved, unseen, and powerless. And that's when I realized there's something wrong. I've gone about this all wrong, because even though I have all this power now, I still feel powerless. It was then that I was invited to go to South Africa to work on a project. And during the first 3 months of the project, it was also part of this extended ideal lifestyle. I was enjoying myself. I was partying a lot, drinking a lot. And then came a succession of 3 events, one right after the other, that took my whole life into a completely different direction. The first thing that happened was I was mugged. So passport, ID, credit cards, money, like everything gone. All right. I could still sort of manage with that. Could not leave South Africa. I didn't have a passport, so it was just going to be a lot of inconvenience. But then the following day, I get the news that I've been fired from the production. They closed the project down and decided not to make it. So here I am now in a country where I don't know anybody. The people that I came with left, and now I don't have money. I don't have my passport. I can't go back home. A few days later, I get the news that my mother in Venezuela died of cancer. She's just been diagnosed with a tumor in her lung. So she was gone quite quickly. And these 3 events sent me into what I can only describe as the biggest existential crisis of my life, and the biggest heartbreak that I've ever experienced. I mean, I remember the pain at night was so unbearable that it really felt like somebody had taken a knife and like stabbed me right in the center of my chest. I had never experienced such pain around my heart. And then I remember every night I would cry myself to sleep, and I would pray to God. I would ask God to please kill me in the middle of the night, so I would not have to live through another day of so much pain and so much confusion and anger and despair. In the middle of all this confusion and despair, I went to see a woman, one of those psychic, I guess you could call her a psychic, but I call her more like an angel lady. She's a psychic reader that primarily works with angel cards at one of those esoteric bookshops on Long Street in Cape Town. So anyway, I went there, and I'm just pouring my heart out to this woman, just telling her about all the things that just happened in this past week. And she looked at me with a tremendous amount of compassion, as if I was a little boy. And she just said to me the following. She said to me, "Gabriel, all of these things had to happen together so that you could really open your heart and listen to what God has been trying to tell you for a very long time. You've been very stubborn. You've been very deaf. You've been wanting to bargain and negotiate with God all this time. But it's time for you to listen to your heart. And I remember I kept telling her, like, yeah, but just tell me what I must do. And she just simply said, your lesson at this particular moment in your life is learn how to listen to your heart, because you're at a place right now and is going through a situation that requires only your heart's wisdom to navigate it. And I said to her, well, what do I do? Do I go back to Los Angeles? Do I stay here? Do I go somewhere else? And she just kept saying, listen to your heart as if your life depends on it. Because right now, your heart does. So anyway, I felt better, but I still was angry that I did not get the wisdom, the guidance that I wanted. She loved me too much, I think, to tell me what her heart had told her about my heart, I guess. So anyway, I remember I went back home that night and I'm still heartbroken, and I'm still thinking about what should I do now. I couldn't go back home to my mom's funeral. I can't leave South Africa. I don't have a passport, and it's going to take at least 9 months to get my passport because of the Venezuelan bureaucracy and all of that. So anyway, I remember I would think about going back to LA, and then at that moment, I could feel this heaviness around my heart, and I could feel my heartbeat, literally, the physical heartbeat, slow down. And then when I thought about staying in South Africa, I could feel the chest would open up, and then I would feel my heart start to beat with a bit more of intensity. And that was the first time when I realized, like, is my heart trying to speak to me by actually this very subtle feeling in my chest and then the actual speed of the heartbeat? And I guess it was. Because as I started using this very simple mechanism, which is what I now teach my clients and my students, I realized that my heart was actually providing me all the time with this information, the guidance with regards to what direction and what decisions to make. There was always this part in me that was the rational part, the intellectual part that governed my life. I made all my decisions by my head, right? What I thought was the right thing to do, or what I thought was the most logical thing to do. But here, I was now about to make a decision that it was the most illogical decision I've ever made. Illogical because, well, what am I going to do in South Africa? How am I going to make a living? How am I going to gain legal status here? Like, there are all these questions, right? Yet there was something inside of me that when I thought about staying in South Africa, there was a certain feeling of ease and sense of peace, even peace underneath all of that. As I started to listen to that, and I started making decisions based on that very subtle feeling that was coming in from my heart. Out of that, I began to take the necessary baby steps I would need to take every day. And then it was that way that I arrived by coincidence, or that coincidences don't really exist, right? I arrived by resonance, I should say, to a really beautiful place called the Novalis Ubuntu Institute in Wynberg in South Africa. A place that would become a few weeks later my new home for the next 3 years, as I made an agreement to become a volunteer and work for them, a beautiful organization that focuses on bringing emotional support and resources to South African grandmothers, gogos, who have lost their children to HIV/AIDS, and then also to adolescents who lost their parents to HIV/AIDS and now have to take care of their little brothers and sisters. As I began to help this organization and work with them every day, one of the first realizations that I had was that the first 40 years of my life were the most selfish years of my life, where I had just lived all for me. As an actor, I was very vain, can still be very vain, but not nearly as much as I used to be. So the whole focus was on me, what people think about me, how I must look, etc., etc., etc. What would benefit me? But I realized, like, all right, now that I'm sort of nearing my midlife, I want to live for other people. The balance have been completely, shifted the other way. And so that began then a whole new way of being in the world. And then also learning about a whole new reality. Because if there's a place where you can really, really connect with the earth, we can really connect with humanity, it's South Africa. It is the cradle of civilization. Is where our scientists that have been studying the DNA and where people in this world originated from have been able to trace it all the way back to the area, the region of South Africa, where then basically the peoples then migrated up through the north of Africa and then spread throughout the rest of the continents. But it's the origin of civilization. So that's where I was, back to the origins. And during those years of my life in South Africa, a new awakening began to take place. The same awakening that you normally hear me talk about when I talk about heart awakening. It was basically the realization that we're all connected, that I am connected to other people, and that was encapsulated really beautifully in the word Ubuntu. South African philosophy of oneness, of compassion, of unity, that comes from the Bantu word Umtu Ngubuntu Ngabantu, which means, in essence, a person is a person through other persons. So you could say that Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu were, during the 90s and all the way into the new century, they were the biggest advocates of the Ubuntu philosophy, with South Africa in many ways serving as an example of a peoples who could make policy and write out a constitution that acknowledge our interconnectedness. And so that is the essence of what heart awakening is. And that was my own heart awakening. Now, what happened after the 3 years working for the Novalis Ubuntu Institute and doing this kind of community work was that during the time where I was studying, when I was working for the Institute, I decided to undergo a long distance training as a minister, as a New Thought ancient minister. I had been attending Gerd's incredible Signs of the Mind classes. He would fly in from Johannesburg on weekends and hold these incredible classes where a group of us would come together and would learn about these very different spiritual principles and practices. And so out of that emerged the desire to also do what Gerd was doing. And so I began studies with the Emerson Institute and started a small spiritual community in South Africa called Agape. And so that was my initiation then into community service, but this time doing a work that was more spiritually based. The work with Novalis was more community based, humanitarian based, I guess, but this was more spiritually based. Some of you who have often commented on the way that I pray. Well, the way that I prayed was how I learned it during those formative years, because it's a type of prayer called affirmative prayer, which is the traditional prayer, or the way of praying a new thought and new thoughts spirituality. It's not a type of prayer that is begging to God for something, but is rather claims our oneness with God, so that we can then speak from unity, or from that place of unity. And so this event then, the death of my mother, symbolized in so many ways the death of the old me, the actor, the artist, the vain, selfish version of myself, or I would just simply call it immature. And so that I could give birth. And then obviously no transitions are ever, black and white. We all move through a stage where the new is emerging while the old is still, holding on to the old habits and all addictions. And so any of you who are moving into transitioning into a new place into your life, just remember that even though that we want to linearly just turn the page and move into the new, the truth is that it's a lot more gradual. We eventually grow into this next version of ourselves, kind of like a child doesn't go into an adult overnight. There's that stage of adolescence where everything is just changing, and you can see the adult and what the child's going to look like as an adult, and you can see he's no longer the child. And so we move through a slightly similar transition. Now, during the time that I was starting to become a minister, and was running my own spiritual community, one of the things that became very evident to me after the first 2 years was that type of ministry was really not for me. Primarily because one of my core values in life is freedom, and I wanted to be able to travel the world. I wanted to be able to work with different kinds of people. And so I decided at the end of that program to start what it's called a non-traditional ministry, and decided that my ministry would take on the form of some kind of a coaching or consulting company. Right, still bringing all these principles out into the world and supporting people from all walks of life, but it would be doing that. But I had no idea in reality what way or what shape or what form that was going to take. So after I completed this program, I called myself a spiritual counselor and started working primarily as a spiritual counselor, working people who were going through transitions and working with people in the areas of love and relationships, also working with a lot of couples, because that's one thing that the ministerial work, it allowed me to bring these gifts that I had that were underdeveloped and start developing them. So the next event that took my whole life into a different direction, right after this time where I had just completed my 3 years at the Institute. And it's now like, okay, now time to take what you learn and do something with it. Okay. I see that Ubuntu Institute was kind of like a school for me. So when I launched onto this next stage of my life as a spiritual counselor, one of the things that was happening was I could not make a living. As a counselor, I was primarily living off people's donations. And though I appreciated it, but I seemed to always always be flat broke. Like the donations were not only enough to cover up my rent and put a little bit of food on the table, but I realized, okay, I don't want to be living like this. For me, money had never really been an issue in my life up until this period of my life where I moved to South Africa, because I was no longer earning this big income as an actor and as a producer. So during this time of transition, where I was working as a spiritual counselor, I was doing websites. I would build websites for other people, and that was my primary way of living. Of earning a living. And so and it was fine, because it was, it would allow me to eat, it would allow me to do other things that normally just the donations would not cover. And so at around that time, I felt very inspired to participate in my very first shamanic ceremony. I heard about a South African shaman who travels to South Africa twice a year and does these beautiful ceremonies working with ayahuasca. And even though it was something that I've always wanted to do, but very afraid of doing, I decided to finally say yes, because I was seeking some answers to many of the questions that I had. So I felt that I was ready at that time. And we're speaking now around my birthday, 2011. Okay. So my birthday is in April. It's on April 17th. And so around this time, then I found out that the shaman is coming. I had met him already, and he had invited me 2 years before to do a ceremony, but I told him that it wasn't really something I was interested. But I was ready now, and I decided to go onto onto this experience, which was probably one of the most beautiful spiritual experiences I've ever had. So during this time, during the preparation, he asked us to write all kinds of questions that we wanted to ask our higher self, God, our spirits, our ancestors, divinity. And so I did that. And when I went into the ceremony that night, all the answers were given to me. I did not experience any beings or deities that showed up. I just simply felt during that whole experience that it's almost like I was raised up to the level of my higher self, what I refer to as my Christ self. And it was from that place of my union with the Christ self where all the answers were revealed to me, and everything that I needed to know was shown. And so my big question that I took with me into that ceremony during this time where I needed some guidance was, what is my life purpose? you know, so I was an actor, as a producer, then I came here, lost everything, then I've been a volunteer, and then I've done this course in ministry, but now what do I do with all of this, right? What do I want to express right now, which is the essence of what purpose actually means. The word purpose means to, in essence, to put forward. What is it that I want to bring forward right now? And when I asked this question, I was shown this image that to this day holds a strong significance. And it's no coincidence. I'm going to show you something. It's no coincidence that I use this image for the global heart stream. You see the little images that I use that's got the world and all these interconnected points. When I was under the influence of the psychoactive teacher plant, ayahuasca, I saw the world like that. But I was up in the air, really high up. I could see the planet Earth down below. And I could see these two hands that went like this. And then these two hands almost like with strings pulled some people from the earth out so I could see who they were. And it showed me all these different interconnected points. And in there, I could see Oprah Winfrey. I could see Dr. Phil. I have a very special connection with Dr. Phil because when I was 19 years old, I went to a series of 3 personal development seminars that he used to teach with his wife, Robin, in Texas, my last year at university, shortly after my father died. And he supported me through this is way before he was even famous. He supported me through a very delicate and very special period of my life after my dad passed away. So anyway, so I see these hands that sort of go like this and pull all these people. And in there, I could see some faces that I know and many faces that I don't know. And then I heard this voice, which was the voice of my higher consciousness, my higher self. And the voice said to me, "You're here to be a messenger of love. You're here to help raise the frequency of the planet. You're part of an interconnected grid of men and women who've chosen to be here right now for the purpose of helping awaken the presence of Christ in the hearts of humanity. You're here to be a teacher of unconditional love. Here are others who are doing what you've been also called to do. Nobody's better. Nobody is less than anybody. Everybody's using their unique gifts and talents to, in essence, bring people back to their hearts, and through their hearts to the heart of God. Now, go back. You have important work to do." And that was the image then that was engraved in my mind and in my heart from that point forward. And when I came back from this experience, there was a sense of clarity, like, okay, I'm going to then register my coaching and training business. And during that time, for some really strange reason, I'd been contacted by the Institute of Heart Math and had just completed their training in heart intelligence, their heart intelligence technologies and coaching. And that's when I made the decision to then call myself a heart intelligence coach and then register my business, Heart and Mind Consulting. And the registration of that business, when it was finally finalized, and it was not the day I went to register, but it's the day in which the government seals it and issues the certificate, was on July 18th, 2011. Can you believe that? On Nelson Mandela's birthday. So I thought it was very, very, very significant. So then that was the beginning then of a journey, this journey of the 10 years. Now, the second event that took my life into a different direction was my second ayahuasca experience that happened on December of 2011. No, sorry, December 2012. Remember when we had the Mayan calendar? That December 21st, that 21st, once the world was supposed to end, but you and I know that it's not the world. It's a cycle that is coming to an end. So this would have happened, like about a year and a half. So what happened was I had begun my practice, and I started to get some clients. I was learning how to coach. I was moving right along, but I seemed to also be always like broke. Okay, I seemed to always be broke, and so when the time came around, and I heard that the shaman was going to be back in South Africa, I said, well, kind of like God told me to come do this work, but now I'm barely making a living doing it. Okay. And during that time, I will still have to supplement with my website, my technology work, my website work that I was building. And so I was kind of like split at the same time. I really wanted to do this, but it wasn't giving me enough money. So anyway, I went to this second ayahuasca experience with the same shaman. But then this time, instead of having like all these questions, I only had one question that I went in there, which was, how can I make a living at this? God, if you really want me to do this work, I need to know, how am I going to really make money right now and doing this? And so after all this ceremony and all the places that the ceremony took me to, the only one answer, or I should say there were two answers that came to this question, where you're here to be a teacher of love. As long as you're teaching, you will have more than enough. A teacher teaches. Teach and you shall have. And then I remember in the inner voice of my mind says something like, yes, but what else must I do? Because I've been already doing some teaching. I've been making some YouTube videos. I've been seeing clients. And then I heard a voice that was very loud and clear. Remember, this was the 21st of December, 2012. And the voice said, starting in the new year, January 1st, do only this. You shall only do this and only do this and nothing else. No more website work, not more technological work. And I was like, what? But this is how I'm really making my living right now. This is what's supporting the other. But that's exactly what the voice inside of me said. And so when I came out of that experience, I made the decision. Okay, it comes January 1st. I'm not doing any more websites. I'm not doing any more of that stuff. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to start teaching. And that's exactly what happened. I turned down every single work that came my way that had to do with building a website for other people. And instead, I started to run my own circles. I started learning the facilitation techniques that Tesh Diner teaches, which has become now part of the foundational work in the academy. And then I can just really honestly say that from there was a turning point. In essence, me choosing to follow the direction of that voice and then just say yes to it was the beginning of the journey that has brought me to where I am right now. Okay, so in essence, I was being asked to trust and be obedient to the voice inside of my heart, and to trust God, trust the divine with this decision, trust the divine with my life direction, trust the divine also with that I would be provided with everything that I needed. Ever since then, I have not looked back. I have not done anything else. My primary source of income has been from my clients, selling online courses, and other supplementary courses like online downloadable products and things like that. And it is thanks to this advice or this direction that I was given by my own heart, my higher self, my Holy Christ self, that this entire business and academy and everything I'm doing, including the move to South Africa, the move to Spain. The third event that took my life into a completely different direction during this past 10 years happened about 4 years ago, four and a half years ago. And that was when my beloved sister, Christina, died. She died of cancer also, just like my mother. And it was also an incredibly painful experience for me. On the one hand, because the year and a half before she died, she'd cut me off shortly after she was diagnosed with cancer. So I lost the connection that I had with my sister. To this day, I still don't know why she cut me off. Even once we were able to reconcile, she told me that she didn't know what she had cut me off. But I'm sure she must have had a good reason. And so while she was going through her cancer, I was not in touch with her. She didn't want to have anything to do with me. And then 2 months before she passed away, she called me up on my birthday. We reconciled. She apologized for having cut me off from her life. She did not tell me why, but then she also gave me the news that she was going to go into hospice. She's decided to stop taking all chemotherapy, and she really wanted just to go home and leave this world. So we were able to say goodbye. I wasn't able to attend her funeral because at that time also I was switching immigration status in South Africa, and I did not have my new passport. My previous one had expired, and so I wasn't able to attend. And also, she did not want to have any kind of celebration. And so the pain of having my sister passed away, and somebody I was very, very close with, the grief brought me into a deeper connection, I would say, with my life purpose and with God. Because that's one of the things I realized about every major death or grief process I've gone through my life, that almost as if the pain cracks my heart to the next level, where in there I'm able to meet more and more of my own divinity, or more and more my own connection with the part of me that is God, that is connected with God. And then out of that, there's not only the healing that comes from that communing with that presence, but also the benefit of the wisdom that I'm able to access during those extreme moments of grief and pain, or void, whatever you want to call it. And so it was out of that experience then that in the midst of this suffering, because this is one of the paradoxes about life, is that sometimes the answers to many of the questions that we have, they don't come when we expect them. Sometimes they come in the most difficult moments, or moments of hard resolve. And it was one of these moments when I had this resolve that started to sense that my time in South Africa was coming to an end. And then my years of schooling, I guess, and building my frameworks and receiving all these different downloads was also coming to an end. And I needed to move to a place that would allow me to take this work internationally, that would allow me also to travel the world. Because obviously, as much as I love South Africa, the truth is that for me, in so many ways, I was very isolated and somewhat protected. So it was a great place for me to develop this gift and to work with a very small group of people. But life was really asking me right now to begin a new journey, to bring this work to more people. And so it was with that that I then made the decision to walk the Camino de Santiago. I also started to making changes in my practice so that I could basically have a location independent coaching practice. I still have an office like I do now. And so I realized, okay, I need to start working from home or for wherever I am in the world. So I started making all those different changes. And then I embarked on my first Camino de Santiago, during which it was revealed to me then that the place I would be coming or living, making it home, would be the south of Spain, specifically Granada, where I am right now. And so it was those three events, those two ayahuasca experiences, the death of my mother, and then this one that I just described, the death of my sister, that I have each one of them just taken my whole life, my career, my life direction into a whole new place. Now, the one thing that from the beginning, I made the decision, I'm going to be a professional coach and I'm going to do this work in service of humanity and I'm going to follow my heart's calling. The one thing that it's been an ongoing struggle or battle, my own jihad, as they would say, has been not feeling worthy. Yeah, not feeling worthy. You know, some people call this unworthiness or even shame. For me, it shows up as this thing that is oftentimes referred to as the imposter syndrome. It shows up as a little thought that kind of creeps in my mind, and it says something like, well, who are you to be calling yourself a heart intelligence coach? Who are you to be, charging this much money for this program? Who are you to start a school to train coaches? Who are you to be calling yourself this, to be calling yourself that? Who are you? And every time that little thought comes in, and the feelings that normally come with it, which is in essence the feelings of feeling unworthy and feelings of shame, after I give myself permission to feel unworthy and to feel shameful, there's always underneath that, there is a counter thought that comes from the part of me that knows and sees and is connected to the bigger truth. And I would say that's my Christ self. And that other voice says the opposite. It says, who are you not to be this? Why not? In other words, when I started talking about all the life experiences, thinking about all the life experiences that I've had, that I've gone through, all the heartbreak, all the suffering, all the grief, all the times I've had to reinvent myself, it's like it is all those things that ultimately is what has qualified me to do what I do. I remember when I first wanted to call myself a heart intelligence coach, I reached out to somebody very well known in the personal development industry. And I wanted to do like his $10,000 3-month training program so I could call myself a coach in his particular specialty. And I almost did it. But before I actually embarked on trying to get money I didn't have to pay for something that I probably did not need, I decided to have a conversation with him. And after the conversation with him, I felt there was a huge disconnect between the person that I saw him when he was making videos and coaching as the person that he was when he was interviewing somebody. And that unsettled me. Anyway,
it was at that time when I was talking to a very close friend of mine, and I was telling him, listen, I want to be a coach and I want to do this work. And I've been told that this is by my own heart, my own soul, that this is my path. This is what I need to do. And I want to do this training because it will qualify me to do this. I need to have, in essence, this certificate to put on my wall that says I'm a professional coach. It's like, you're now qualified. You're worthy of doing this. Now you can charge money for this. And I remember this close friend of mine, somebody who knew me well and understood my pain and could see the higher picture. He said to me, well, Gabriel, Jesus never had a certificate to do what he knew in his heart he came here to do. Nelson Mandela, he became a lawyer, but he did not have a certificate as a compassionate leader. It was those 27, 28 years in prison that allowed him to become that. So I realized that it was this own inner sense of insecurity, sense of feeling unworthy, this inner sense of shame, like, who are you, that was keeping me. And so this little voice, this feeling of shame comes up every time. And, you think that it's something that it goes away, like you deal with it and then, it never shows up. But no, it shows up every time I get ready to embark on a new journey. It shows up every time I decide to expand, and I've now recognized it as a good friend. It's like the it's like a little devil that has a little voice that speaks to me, like, who are you? And then I just look at him and I wink and I smile, and you're like, there's my old friend, always questioning me and what I do. And then my reply is to, like, yeah, well, who am I not to be doing this? And so it is embracing that as a natural part of our own self-doubt, and allow ourselves to be moved through, as Gerd was saying here in one of the comments. Gerd wrote a comment saying, pain pushes you, vision pulls you. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the things that Michael Beckwith teaches. And it's exactly what happened. And so this pain, this shame, this anger, this grief can push you, but it is the vision within your heart. It is your purpose also. It is that which then is what ultimately ends up pulling me every time. So if you're somebody who wants to embark on a journey, you want to fulfill your higher purpose, you want to become a professional coach, a counselor, whatever, it doesn't matter, a Reiki master, open up your own Reiki academy, just be aware that this self-doubt, self-mechanism, it's built in. This core unworthiness, as Tesh Steiner would define it, or imposter syndrome. It's part of what we all have to embrace, come to terms with, and ultimately transcend. Because who are you not to be, as Marianne Williamson says, showing how amazing, powerful, beautiful you are. Who are you not to be doing God's work, fulfilling your divine purpose for which you came? Who are you not to be creating the life that makes you happy, that brings joy to you and to everybody else? Who are you not to be doing what God brought you here to do? And it's no coincidence that it was actually this very same author, Marianne Williamson, that when Nelson Mandela, after being liberated from prison and gave his very famous inauguration speech, quoted Marianne Williamson in her very famous speech. They spoke about our biggest fear. Our biggest fear being not ultimately how inadequate or insignificant we may be or unworthy, but ultimately how powerful we truly are. We'll have the power to create the life that we truly want, the relationships that we truly want. When I embarked on this journey, I had a vision and I had a dream. I had no idea how it was going to work. I had no guarantees that it would work, but all I knew was that if I wanted it, I needed to put all my energy, to put all my heart onto it, and basically start saying no to everything that was not that. It was embarking on that journey and taking one step after the other. At the very beginning, some very tiny baby steps that led me to a place where I could then own it, own the title that I had chosen for myself. And at the very beginning was heart intelligence coach, and owning it, calling myself that. And then later on, once I started training people and facilitating seminars, owning that title of a trainer and facilitator. And then when I set up the Heart Leader Academy, which used to be called the Academy for Applied Heart Intelligence, but it's now been rebranded as Heart Leader Academy. Also owning that, owning my role, owning my role as a leader of this academy, and now more recently, owning this new title and giving myself of Heart Leader, as I'm now taking this work to a whole new level. And not only that, but I'm also allowing some of the amazing students that have gone through the Academy's core training program to also step up and begin to hold circles, facilitate their own circles and teach their own programs, which is basically this new membership program that I'm going to briefly talk about at the time or at the end of our time together. So, who are you not to be doing what God put you here to do? In fact, as Michael Beckwith would say, you have a mandate from the universe to fulfill that purpose and to along the journey extinguish, tame, transcends any dragons, fears, feelings of insecurity, all of that along the journey, but seeing it that that's just part of the resistance that it's oftentimes needed for your lift up. Just like an airplane needs the resistance of the wind so that it can lift. It is that same resistance oftentimes coming from within us, and some other times from others around us, like your family or your partner saying like, you shouldn't be doing this. Why are you doing this? You'll never make money doing this. That it is exactly that kind of resistance that oftentimes helps us, gather even greater strength and then lift above the clouds to uncharted territories that will allow us ultimately to see our vision manifested and fulfilled. So there you go. That's my biggest blog, and still is, as I said, even to this day. All right. What I've noticed over the years is, as I said earlier, is that it's become like an old friend now. I no longer believe the voice. Okay, I just go like, oh, here we go. It's almost like when you invite, your favorite aunt to a party, and she's just being your aunt, and you're like, well, there's my aunt. She's just the way it is, and just love her the way that she is. I don't expect her to change. It's the same thing, for the party. This part of myself that doesn't believe in me, he also shows up. And so I'm like, just pouring him a drink, let him be part of the celebration, because also without him, I wouldn't be who I am, because he's just simply showing me the part of me that is afraid, because ultimately that's what this is all about. There was a time, as I said, where as I launched into this journey, I had no idea. When I made a decision to move to Spain and walk my first Camino, I had no idea how it was going to work out. I had no idea where I was going to live. I had no idea where the money was going to come, out of which I was going to rent an office, rent an apartment, like all of that. I had no idea where it was going to come from. But as I have followed my heart and dedicated my life to being a teacher of unconditional love as a coach, doing this work, serving God as a coach, and as a teacher. And as I have gone out and done exactly what a teacher and a coach does, right? Teacher teaches, coach coaches. As I've gone about doing that, I have been provided every step of the way. And now doors are about to open up into a whole, new dimension. And I'm feeling very, very, very excited about that. So, this coming Thursday, finally, we are unveiling the Heart Mastery Circle that is part of the Academy. It's in essence a new membership program for people who would like to take the next step and become involved by doing, in essence, two things: participating in weekly circles that are going to be run by some of my handpicked leaders, people who've gone through my training program. And Mary Rinaldi, who's here, she's going to be facilitating a circle that is all about learning how to love yourself. Mark Jarjour couldn't be with us today. He's going to be facilitating a circle that it's all about increasing the connection with your own Christ self. And then I am going to be teaching a new class that will be one of the foundational class for the Academy, called Foundations of Heart-Centered Living, an 8-week class. Okay. So this will open up to the public. You can sign up either on a monthly basis. In case of you're wondering how much is this going to cost, it's $45 per month. We're going to be running a special during the first 30 days. So you can lock in and just pay $45 a month. And or in 30 days from now, we're going to increase it to $55. So that way you can get in earlier. We're also going to take a small amount, a smaller amount as kind of like a test, as a pilot, to make sure we can handle it, and then open it up for more people. So in essence, you're investing in your own personal development and spiritual growth. You'll be participating in this weekly class with me that will go on for 8 weeks, the online circles, monthly master classes, and then obviously further group classes that are going to be coming after we complete the Foundations for Heart-Centered Living. Okay, so that's all I want to say about that right now, because the official invitation will go out on Wednesday. So if you're in my newsletter list, we're going to be, you'll receive an invitation to join at the very special discounted rate, which will only be available just for the first month as a sort of lunch special offer. Okay. Linda says, congratulations on this 10th anniversary. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, beautiful. All right, so now that I got the opportunity to share with you my journey and my biggest block, what I want to do is I want to sing the song that came when I was living in South Africa, the Ubuntu song, that I was actually received as I was walking through a beautiful township in Nurtuk, in the area of Cape Town where I lived, called Masipumelele, which means we have hope. And this is in Cape Town. During the 90s, it was the township that had the highest HIV infection rate of Cape Town. Okay. And so I was walking through the township a few years ago, and because my mechanic is on the other side of the township, so on my way back from after having dropped off after having dropped off my car at the garage, the mechanic, I was walking through the township, and right as I'm walking through the township, I could just hear loud inside of my head the chorus of the song that would go Untun Gubuntun Gabantu, and that's where it came from. Oh, Brenda! Oh my goodness. Brenda says, congratulations on an amazing 10 years. Thank you for sharing deeply on your life journey. I found memories of you and Novalis, your affiliation with South Africa, Madiba, and the spirit of Ubuntu. Beautiful. Yeah, Brenda, I had the opportunity to spend time with you. My goodness. During the beautiful formation year. Same thing with Gerd. There's when I'm setting up the guitar, I want to share a brief anecdote with regards to Gerd, because it was very symbolical. You know, we have this saying in Spanish that says, "Nunca sabes para quién trabaja," which basically means you never know who you're working for. In other words, when you're doing something, you don't know who is that going to benefit. Okay, so when Gerd, as I was saying earlier, he would fly in from Johannesburg on weekends so that he could teach this class. And then and he needed, when he decided to do these classes, he needed a flip chart. And so he reached out to me and said, Gabriel, do you know anybody who has a flip chart? And I said, no, not really. And he said, well, I really need one for the classes. It would be great if you could, hopefully find me one. So I just said, well, what the hell, I'll buy one, and then give it to Gerd, and we'll use it for the class. So anyway, I'm walking around Cape Town, the downtown, looking for a place that sells flip chart, and can't find one until I finally walked into a place where they have flip charts, and I'm like, excited. Okay, great. How much is it? And they tell me the price, and I'm picking it up. And right as I grab the flip chart, I have this strong sense. It's almost like a knowing, the heart speaks like that. Almost as a sense of knowing, like, oh my God, I'm not buying this flip chart for Gerd. I'm buying this flip chart for myself. And sure enough, I brought the flip chart for each one of Gerd's classes, and he got to use it. But every time I touched that flip chart, the flip chart was like speaking to me and saying, I'm yours, for you to use me, and for you to express your life purpose through me. And I still have that flip chart in South Africa. That flip chart became the flip chart of every circle training program, Path of the Heart retreat. And I want you to know that, Gerd, that it's because of you that I have that flip chart. And it was almost like just a knowing that, it was a premonition for what was about to come. Okay. Untu ngubuntu ngabantu. A person is a person through other persons. Or, if you want to find a simpler English equivalent, in essence, I am because you are. Okay, I need to change the setting here so you can hear me a little bit better. Okay. Ngabantu, untungubuntu ngabantu, untungubuntu ngabantu, untungubuntu ngabantu, untungubuntu ngabantu, untungubuntu ngabantu. Ubuntu ngabantu, Ubuntu ngabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu ngabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu ngabantu. Ubuntu, 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 ngabantu.
Ubuntu, 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 Ubuntu. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. And in our hearts, and in our hearts, we are one with God. And we are one, and we are one in the heart of God. We are one, and we are one in the heart of God. And in our hearts, and in our hearts, we are one with God. And we are one, and we are one in the heart of God. And in our hearts, and in our hearts, we are one with God. Untun gubuntun gabantu, 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 Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu gabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, untun gubuntun gabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu gabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu gabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu gabantu, Ubuntu, Ubuntu, untun Ubuntu gabantu. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. I am because you are, and you are because I am. And in our hearts, and in our hearts, we are one with God. And we are one, and we are one in the heart of God. And in our hearts, and in our hearts, we are one with God. And we are one, and we are one in the heart of God. our hearts, and in our hearts we are one with God. And we are one, and we are one in the heart of God. Ubuntu Gabantu, 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 Ubuntu, Ubuntu, 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 Ubuntu Gabantu. Ubuntu Gabantu, Ubuntu Gabantu, Ubuntu Gabantu, Ubuntu Gabantu. In the spirit of Ubuntu, I want to invite you now to bring your hand over to the heart. And as you breathe in and out of the heart, allow the frequency of compassion to fill my heart, to fill your heart. Let compassion take full ownership of your heart. Let the heart of compassion of the living Christ within you activate, expand, blaze within. Let the radiance of compassion from your heart expand in every direction. Let it glow all around you. See it go out of your heart to everyone in this call here today. See, feel, and visualize all our hearts coming together as one in the spirit of Ubuntu, connecting with the magnanimous heart of Nelson Mandela. The radiance of our hearts together create now a sphere of compassion. Let the sphere of compassion now fully surround South Africa and all the peoples in South Africa. There's only one life, and that life is God, and that life is our life right now. Our hearts are the life of God beating together, unified, radiating love out to South Africa. God's life, God's love, God's compassion. In the name of the I Am Presence, the Holy Christ Self, I call forth now for the healing, the balancing, the restoration of the peace and the harmony in South Africa. I call forth the energy of coherence to be fully activated, unifying the hearts of this incredibly beautiful nation. May the spirit of Madiba, and the same force of compassion that propelled him to unify the nation become now fully active in the heart of every person in South Africa. May the light of compassion from our hearts united with the light of compassion from Nelson Mandela's heart, bring clarity, understanding to everyone in South Africa, easing the suffering, restoring the harmony. May the spirit of Ubuntu live like never before, awakening the hearts.
Gurudev Namo, Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Gurudev, Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo.
Heavenly Father, hold the people of South Africa in your heart. Heal and restore the harmony in the hearts and mind of all of its citizens. Heal and restore all those who are sick. Ease the suffering and the pain of all of those who are experiencing right now grief, discomfort, confusion, sadness. Let your merciful heart ease the suffering of everyone, that we may all come together as one in the spirit of Ubuntu. Thank you, O Heavenly Father, for the healing. Thank you for the coming together of all the beautiful hearts on this very special day celebrating Nelson Mandela's birthday. May the spirit of higher leadership that lived in Mandela, the heart of compassion, the heart of joy, the heart of unconditional love, dwell within each and every one here today. May our call go out and be multiplied as much as heavenly law will allow. And may this all be done according to your divine will. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the past 10 years of service to humanity. Thank you for all the events, the people, the situations, the lessons learned along the way.
Thank you for the courage, the clarity of vision that has allowed me and everyone also to move forward and to say yes to what we know it's in our hearts, our divine potential. Beloved Holy Christ Self within each and every one of us, continue to give us the courage, the determination to overcome and transcend our own little human limitations, to allow our vision for our highest potential to pull us forward in the direction of what we know it's our heart's calling. And with gratefulness and thanksgiving, we let this be, declaring it done here and now, giving thanks for our time together, our opportunity to come together, to learn from each other's lessons, each other's journey, and to help sharpen each other as we continue to grow our awareness of what it means to be a leader of the heart, a leader who is operating from a place of love, compassion, gratitude, appreciation, forgiveness, truth, harmony, freedom, honor, and service of the whole. And so it is, and it is so. Amen. All right, my beloved and beautiful friends, we're coming now to the end of our time together. Thank you for all the beautiful comments you've been leaving, you've been writing down. Thank you so much for your amazing, what a beautiful celebration, says Animation Person. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Moon Goddess. Thank you, Michalina. Thank you, Rian, Amanda, Gerd. Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you could be here with us. It's been such a long time since we last saw each other. Thank you, Brenda. What a beautiful treat and surprise that you could be here also today. Thank you, Mariette, Geraldine, Maria, Linda, Monica, Veronica, Regina, Ulrike. Thank you, Per. It's great that you could also be here, man. My friend, I know you've also gone through your own process of grief, and I'm really excited to see also how the sort of like the rebirth that grief takes us to. Yeah, it's guiding you on a journey that is in greater alignment with who you are and who you are becoming. Thank you so much. Oh, Brenda, you're speaking Portuguese. Muito obrigada. Oh, and Afrikaans and Dutch. Well, you're South Africa, so yeah, I can understand when you have all those languages. Yeah. Thank you, Maria Guardiola. Thank you. She says, so grateful to have been part of this beautiful gathering. Blessings to all. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, seam. Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, I'm happy to stay here for a few more moments. If in case anybody has any questions you'd like to ask, I can stay for another 10 more minutes, but then I really have to go. I'm meeting a friend for dinner. I've had my friend Pedro, one of my best mates from university, hanging out with me, and he's been staying with me for the past. It's going to be a month already. My goodness, I can't believe it. And we're planning dinner. We were out last night watching some flamenco, and according to him, he's a flamenco connoisseur. It was one of the best performances he's ever seen in his whole life. Gert says, thank you for this beautiful celebration. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Gert. Yeah. All right. Well, if there are no questions, then again, I want to remind you that on this week, if you're subscribed to my weekly newsletter and or even here on this YouTube channel, I'll be posting the announcement on Thursday once we open the doors for the new Heart Mastery Circle membership program, their new circle. All right, you'll have all the details to make a decision whether if that's the right time for you. And we will still continue to have our free membership. Okay, so if you're a free member of the Academy right now, you will continue to get the many benefits, and I have access to the free courses and many of the all the great content that I've been uploading, and it will continue to be available to you. Okay, but this is just for those people that feel like they would like to take the next step, and they would like to participate in this learning courses, and and basically engage with me in a completely new and very different way. Hi, Walter. Welcome. Okay. Yeah, Rian says, I love the flamenco. Such passion flows from it. Have a great evening, Gabriel. Thank you, Rian. You too. Yes, it's true. When you speaking about, with this, we have been running. In case you don't know, we've been running a 12-week healing your 7 chakras every Wednesday during the weekly heart stream. And the past 2 weeks, we cover the root chakra. Right, we or I guided or spoke a great deal about the root chakra and different ways in which we can heal it. And then on the second one, we did a guided meditation that's about healing basically the trauma from those first 5 years of our lives, which is all the root that represents the root chakra. So anyway, flamenco dancing is actually is a very grounded type of dancing. Notice like the opposite of the African dance. The Africans, it's like there's like this bouncy jump. Same thing with we Latinos. Okay, when we dance, we jump high. But the flamenco dancing, though, if you notice, the energy is like really rooted, and with every hit of the tacon of the heel into the ground, it's almost like the dancer is just grounding all of this energy, which is what makes this type of dance extremely sensual and erotic, because obviously the root chakra governs part of what governs the root chakra is our sexuality and our sense of physical pleasure, our connection with the earth. Okay, so watching a flamenco performance can be incredibly grounding. Okay, or anybody that wants to heal their root chakra, you could take flamenco classes, and the focus again is bringing the energy specifically in that area, in the pelvic area, and then drawing it from there down into the ground. So it's a wonderful dance to ground your energy. Yeah, Michelina says the chakra program was very beautiful. Okay, great, wonderful. All right, my beautiful friends, I nearly choked here. My throat is quite dry. All right, well, once again, thank you so much for giving me your time on this Sunday, wherever you are in the world. I wish you a fantastic rest of your weekend. I know for some of you folks in the US, it's still noon time. But for me, it's already 8 p.m. here. So once again, thank you so much for your best wishes. Thank you for being part of this growing community of heart-centered people from all over the world who are wanting to live more and more and more from your heart. Thank you for your support, your donations, your participation. Those of you who are my students here, thank you for being my students. Thank you for trusting me. And trusting me your life direction in many ways, so that I can hopefully guide you back into your heart. Yeah, a lot of people come to me like asking me like, what should I do? And I basically tell them exactly the same thing that this woman told me 10 years ago. Listen to your heart. So you come to me, and all I do is I point back at you, but this time point back inside of your heart. My best coaching, believe it or not, comes when I get out of the way, and instead I ask people, okay, this is what I think, but what is your heart telling you? What is your heart longing for? Okay, so that's the question I want to leave you with today. After today's group celebration and prayer and everything I've shared, what is your heart longing for? What is your heart longing for right now? And more importantly, what baby steps can you start taking over the next few days or next week in the direction? All right. Remember that it was exactly that way that this journey as a heart intelligence coach, as a heart leader began over 10 years ago. So if you have a question such as, what is my heart longing for? What is my soul longing for? Because remember, your heart is ultimately the window to your soul. Listening to those answers could lead to the most transformative and amazing journey of your life. As Carl Jung would say, those who look outside dream, those who look inside awaken. So the invitation is for you to bring more and more and more the attention to your heart and the deeper longing and the vision that it's wanting to be expressed from your heart. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Next week, Wednesday, for our regular midweek broadcast. Okay, this will happen on Wednesday at 12 noon U.S. Eastern Time. Bye-bye, everybody.